Jogging while Black got me arrested by cops who thought I fit the description. One call later, I was out. That mistake cost them everything. I work a job that keeps me in the shadows. I don't talk about it. I don't need to. I operate under a 3-letter agency that doesn't appreciate attention, which is fine because I've been trained to avoid it. Call it instinct. Call it protocol. Call it survival. At this point, it's second nature. I blend in. I disappear when I need to. I observe more than I speak. And when things go sideways, I move fast. But never first. But even ghosts need rest. So I took a few days off, burned some of the vacation time I never use, and drove out to visit family in a quiet, suburban neighborhood a few states away. One of those cookie-cutter towns where everything looks clean, polite, and exactly the same. Manicured lawns, welcome signs, American flags on porches, the kind of place that practically screams, "Nothing bad ever happens here." Mostly white, pretty, peaceful, not exactly my usual terrain, but calm enough to breathe for a while. And for a man used to tense border crossings and locked rooms, that kind of silence is gold. On my second morning there, I decided to go for a jog. Stretch the legs, hoodie on, AirPods in, sneakers laced up. I mapped out a loop through the neighborhood and took off around 7 a.m. when the air's still cool and the sun's just peeking through the trees. It was quiet, the kind of quiet that makes you hear your own footsteps louder than usual. I passed a couple walking their golden retriever, gave a polite nod, got a tight-lipped smile in return, kept moving. No drama, no reason for concern. Until about 10 minutes in, when I noticed a patrol car easing into the street behind me. It didn't blast in, it didn't blare a siren, just crept. Tires whispering along the asphalt, maybe 30 feet back. At first, I figured it was nothing. Routine patrol. Neighborhood watch nonsense. Still, I dropped the volume on my AirPods just in case. Situational awareness is muscle memory at this point. The cruiser kept pace with me for a block, then turned off. I let it go, until another patrol car came barreling out of a side street, fast, loud, tires squealing. It swung in front of me and cut me off, blocking the sidewalk. That's when the doors flew open. 2 officers jumped out, guns already drawn. "Get on the ground! Hands up! Down! Now!" I froze mid-stride, heart thudding, blood pulsing in my ears. I've seen what happens in these moments, on body cams, on the news, in reports we study and brief. I knew better than to argue, better than to ask for clarification. I slowly raised my hands, palms out, and lowered myself to the ground. Controlled movements. No sudden gestures. Let gravity handle the fall. Didn't matter. They rushed me anyway. One of them, big guy, high and tight haircut, jittery, slammed into my back like I'd just pulled a weapon. My chest hit the pavement so hard the air shot from my lungs. My face scraped the sidewalk. I tasted blood. The other officer grabbed my arms and twisted them so violently behind my back I heard something pop in my shoulder. "What the hell did I do?" I asked. My voice was tight, pained, but even. Years of interrogation training don't go away when the tables turn. "You match the description of a suspect seen casing homes in the area," the officer above me said without looking at me. That was it. No further explanation. No description offered. No questions asked. Just hoodie equals threat. Black equals suspicious. They didn't read me my rights. Didn't ask who I was. They just clapped the cuffs on and dragged me to my feet like a bag of trash. I glanced around. A few neighbors were peeking through windows, some standing behind hedges with their phones out. None of them stepped in. None of them said a word. They threw me into the back seat of the cruiser, cuffs tight, shoulder throbbing, pride shredded. And as we drove away, I stared out the window. Silent. Not because I didn't have anything to say, but because I knew they wouldn't understand who they had in their back seat. Not yet. They brought me into the station like I was public enemy number 1. Sirens off, but egos loud. One officer practically strutted through the doors, chest puffed, announcing they'd picked up a suspicious male who matched the description of an alleged burglar. His partner fist-bumped him behind the desk like they'd just won a damn trophy. Me? I was in cuffs, quiet, shoulders still throbbing from the slam on the pavement. My lip had split open somewhere between the sidewalk and the back seat. Blood dried on my chin. I didn't speak unless spoken to, and even then, only briefly. The less said, the better. They sat me in holding, then moved me to a small gray interview room after 20 minutes. Same cold metal table. Same flickering fluorescent lights you'd find in any precinct across the country. They finally removed the cuffs, but not before another unnecessary yank that lit up my shoulder again. I sat down. Straight posture. Calm breath. This wasn't new to me. Not this exact situation, but the energy. The power play, the smug silence, the waiting game. I'd sat across from hostile foreign operatives and cartel lieutenants, people with actual blood on their hands. These guys were just riding the high of a perceived bust. One of them came in and leaned over the table with the kind of smile people use when they think they already won. "So," he said casually, "what were you really doing out there?" I looked at him evenly. "Jogging," I said. "Like I said earlier." He gave a little chuckle and nodded, pacing slowly. "Look," he said, "we both know this doesn't have to get complicated. You cooperate, tell us who you really are, maybe we cut you some slack." I didn't answer. He tried again, this time more firm. "You've got no ID, no local address, and you're walking around rich neighborhoods before 8 a.m.? You want to play games?" "I gave you a number," I said simply. "Just make the call." That number wasn't to a lawyer. It wasn't to a family member. It was a direct line to a federal office buried under layers of clearance, a line that only rang if the caller's badge carried the weight to use it. Of course, they didn't call. They thought I was bluffing. Thought I was another smooth talker hoping to wriggle out of a charge. Thought I was scared. Truth is, I was pissed. But I was in control. The next hour dragged. They left me alone in that gray room, probably expecting me to sweat, maybe panic. I didn't. I sat still, focused. Let them underestimate me. That's how you win most fights. In silence, before the first punch is even thrown. After enough time passed, I tried again. A different officer, younger, less cocky, was passing by the open door. I raised my voice just enough. "Hey," I said, "one last time. Call the number I gave you. You'll get everything you need." He hesitated, then rolled his eyes and walked off without a word. 15 more minutes. Finally, they let me use the station phone. Maybe they were bored. Maybe they thought it would lead to some slip-up. I don't know. But I made the call. Didn't say much. Just enough to confirm who I was, what had happened, where I was being held. That's when the wheels turned. I saw it happen in real time, like watching a ripple in a still pond. 10 minutes later, one of the original arresting officers re-entered the hallway with his phone to his ear. He stopped walking mid-step. His posture straightened. He blinked. Then his eyes locked on the mirror that looked into my room. I couldn't hear the voice on the other end, but I didn't need to. His body said everything. He nodded. Once, twice, 3 times, and swallowed hard. Sweat formed at his temple as he muttered a shaken, "Yes, sir, yes, understood." He hung up, turned, and walked straight to the squad room. 30 seconds later, a supervisor burst in. Not the usual slow, curious entrance of someone sniffing out details. No. This man moved like the building was on fire. He stepped into the interview room, unlocked the door himself, and didn't sit down. "Sir," he said, voice tight, "you're free to go. There's been a misunderstanding." I stood. No smirk, no satisfaction, just a nod. As I passed the original 2 officers, now standing against the wall, pale and stiff, I said nothing. But before I crossed the doorframe, I turned slightly. "That phone call?" I said quietly. "That's the only warning you're getting." They didn't respond. They didn't move. I didn't need to file a report. I didn't have to speak to internal affairs, push for charges, or call a lawyer. The call that came through that small-town police station didn't come from a public defender's office or some DC hotline. It came from a black SUV parked just a few blocks away, the kind with no plates, matte paint, and surveillance-grade tint that never peels. Inside, someone sat with more stars and stripes on their record than anyone in that precinct had probably ever met, let alone imagined could be watching them. That call wasn't loud. It wasn't threatening. It was surgical, precise, and it sent a ripple through the building so quiet you could hear chairs slide across the floor and breathing change in real time. I was already gone by the time the full weight of that phone call landed. But the aftermath, it echoed. The officer who slammed me to the ground, grinding my face into pavement like he was pinning down a threat instead of an innocent man on his morning jog, he had 2 prior complaints for excessive force. One still open, the other quietly settled and sealed. Well, he wasn't around by the end of the week. Gone. Badge and gun surrendered, record under review. The other one, the loud one, the one who mocked me in the squad car, laughed at my credentials like they were a Halloween costume, and threatened to stack charges on top of humiliation? Fired. Not just let go, terminated, for conduct unbecoming, use of excessive force, and failure to follow identity verification protocol. His entire record was flagged. He won't be wearing a badge anywhere else. Then there was the desk sergeant. Middle-aged, beard graying at the chin, too jaded to challenge 2 junior officers dragging in a black man for jogging while suspicious. He didn't ask questions, didn't verify anything, just filed the paperwork, cracked a joke about those city joggers, and went back to his crossword puzzle. He got a memo, not from HR, not from a local supervisor, from someone whose clearance level doesn't even have a public name. The header on that memo simply read, "Classified, do not duplicate." Underneath were 7 words. Review protocol. Never ignore verification procedures again. The sergeant was demoted, transferred, relocated to desk duty at a smaller outpost 3 towns over. He won't be seeing any foot chases or arrests anytime soon. I never told my family what happened. I didn't want them worrying. I didn't want them angry. I didn't even want them knowing the kind of work I do, the kind of training that teaches you how to take a beating with dignity because sometimes knowing who you are is the weapon. The morning after it all happened, I woke up early. Didn't even think about it. Muscle memory again. I laced up my shoes, pulled on the same hoodie, and stepped outside. Same neighborhood, same jog, same sky above me. This time, I noticed something different. A few more porch lights flicked on as I passed. A few more eyes followed me. Not suspicious, not accusatory, just watching, curious, hesitant. I passed the same woman I saw the day before, the one walking her golden doodle who'd clutched her phone a little tighter when I jogged by. This time, she nodded, even gave a small, almost embarrassed wave. Progress, I guess? Funny how things shift when silence is broken in the right place. I wasn't jogging for vengeance. I wasn't out there to prove anything. I just needed my breath back, my pace, my ground. I wasn't going to let anyone steal that from me, and not even for a day. They thought I was just a jogger, a stranger in a hoodie, someone who fit the description. But they never asked which description. Not the one from a security camera or a neighbor's panicked call. The real one. The one whispered in classified corridors marked in red, known by people whose names don't go on documents. Turns out, I'm the guy you really don't want to detain without cause. Because when I move, I don't yell. I don't post. I don't beg for justice. I pick up the phone, and when that phone rings, people listen. Because they know, if I'm calling, someone already made a mistake.